and I don't think I had the concept sheer out for him to like really have to know what you would do with a film like this and like explain it. And he didn't really. His main explanation for how he'd fix Man of Steel was just get rid of all the terrible shit and actually be honest about the character. And that's true. That's my biggest problem. It's just the way they handled everything and the characters in Man of Steel really upset me. It's one of the films that made me think of this idea. And I probably should put like the first one that should go out in the podcast is probably one that's just me with my idea and someone to listen to. Because if I just blathered on for a full hour, I think it would be really fucking dull. For me, at least.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just depends what you have to talk about, you know.
I
mean, if you have like a lot of input, I don't feel like it would be dull, you know.
Well, I have a lot of input, but it's always, for me, recording it would be dull.
Gotcha.
Just sitting alone in a room.
I'm just
this is what I'll think about things, and like that's the introduction that we get. Not me joking, just me angrily saying how much I hated the fucking Green Lantern film.
Oh my god. I heard bad things.
Oh, it's terrible. You should watch it. Watch it. Just go, what?
Like the fuck?
What I think I want to do with the first one, though, and what I think I want to do with all the ones that are my opinions, is actually have friends. Not just one, but have a couple to just hear me blather on. And maybe do it as a day. Watch the film, all of us together, and then just hear me go about how I would change it. Because I'd like to do some of the podcasts like that, even with other people's choices. Watch the film with them.
Right.
And then fucking do the podcast after.
Just like, what the fuck did we just watch? Like, that actually sounds neat.
Yeah, that's really one of the ideas for later episodes. Right now, like, I like this idea, just sitting down with a friend, they pick a movie, and like, if I watch all of it was hard to watch your choice.
You know what's funny? I really had no idea because, like, your 3-part question, because I was like, I can't really think of a movie because I haven't watched a movie lately that I really hated. Like, lately, it's just been like, I'm just going to watch all the stuff that I really like and that has great exposition.
Yes.
Stuff like that, you know.
So Giant Said Brandon, my friend, who goes to all these cons with me and everything, Brandon K., he tackled Man of Steel, which I was down for because I fucking love. You've talked to me. I idolize Superman. It's really. I'm wearing a Superman shirt under the shirt and tie. I'm a nerd.
That's awesome. No,
I'm down for it. The second one I recorded though is with my friends Fur and Nick Izumi, and they picked Godzilla 2014, which I personally love.
Yeah,
so did they. They thought it was great. Their main issue, what they would change to make the film the best it could be is the entire second act. They're like, they focused on the wrong character.
I agree fully.
Yeah, and they're like, you had Ken Watanabe, and we broke it down to tell how we would kind of build the story to do it right. So, God, today we're talking about Machete Kills, the sequel to Machete, the Robert Rodriguez film. You want to say your name and who you are and why you should be allowed to critique things?
Yeah, sure. My name is Alexandra Arns, and I am here with Thomas Sinclair to talk about the sequel.
It's my show.
I know.
I should probably say I do all the intros, but
okay. I just thought
you're here to talk about the sequel to Machete.
Machete.
You are like the fun thing about this is the last two ones I recorded were just friends and they're comedians and they're kind of writers.
Yeah.
You, like me, are kind of a student of film. You literally are a student of film, and I am just kind of, I come in and out of with everyone else's student films here at RBC. And, like, so you love film, and you particularly love the grindhouse style.
Absolutely.
You love horror films, you love slashers, you love a lot of the things that a lot of people would call trash media, which I don't think is necessarily representative. But then again, I like certain trauma films. And they're terrible. Like I know they're terrible films, but I fucking love Toxie. And,
oh my god! To me, like the Toxic Avenger, it is just the king of camp. It is the king of just campy bullshit, like ridiculous films, and like it's not supposed to be serious. And I think a lot of people look at that and they're like, "Oh, that's garbage. It was so stupid." Okay, these filmmakers, so Troma, decided to do this for fun, and they went in there with the best intention to make a camp film.
What I think I love about Troma is most studios forget that film, like, we all love film as art. I love film as art. My favorite film is Casablanca. I obviously love film as art.
Right.
But I have no doubt that they still had fun on that set. Like, I have no doubt that Bogey wasn't, like, there's so many good people on that set. I doubt that they didn't have a blast. Right? And there's all this pretension in film and any kind of art where it's like, it can't be fun. Like, that's why people don't say cartoons or comics are fun, or art. They're fun. They're always fun. And I like that about Troma, that they tackle things as fun. And obviously, Robert Rodriguez has fun making films. And he can make... Robert Rodriguez is a totally competent director to make art out of film.
Right.
But he chooses to do something that he really enjoys.
Right.
Which I completely respect from him. And you obviously do. You picked this film.
Yeah.
So, Alexandra, what do you like about this? What got you excited about this film?
Well, generally, I like Robert Rodriguez as a filmmaker, and I think you're right. You know, I think the thing with Robert Rodriguez is you're right. You know, he does like to have a lot of fun, and you know, I look at films that he did. Like I look at like Death Proof and then Planet Terror. You know, and I look at those like, you know, because Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez kind of teamed up a little bit to do that, and I look at those films and how it just glorified Grindhouse. It brought it back, and I just don't think I was ever so happy to see those movies. Like, yes, you know, because Grindhouse.
Can I say I love Death Proof?
The glory that is Death Proof.
It's one of those films where there's no doubt in my mind that was probably one of the most fun sets. Everyone's like, comedy is one of the most fun sets to work on.
Doubt it.
I do. Being that I do stand up every now and then, and I do comedy stuff. Comedy's a lot of work because it's like, we're all making ourselves joke, but at the end of the day, we have to hit this joke, we have to hit this note, and we have to make sure, like, in editing, that's gotta be, editing comedy is a fucking art onto its own, because you can lose so much in editing, let alone a joke. But that film, nothing about those films when they did the Grindhouse double feature feels like it was probably work.
No way! You know, and I think especially Quentin Tarantino, you know, Quentin Tarantino, he just looks like a fun director. You know, I mean, I look at, like, the Kill Bill movies, and I looked at a whole bunch of, like, stills that were taken, and Lucy Liu and Uma Thurman are just, like, goofing off on set, and they even took a picture with Lucy Liu's top of her head chopped off from the scene where she, you know,
I've seen that picture.
And they're just sitting there smiling, you know, and just having a total blast. So, like, I think the fun thing with film, especially, like, art films and serious films, I think because it is a serious film, people literally cannot take it too seriously. You know, the people on that set are just like, geez, I need a break. I need to laugh. You know, and I think that's why sets like that are the most fun. Because they know they're making a serious feature. And, you know, you can't take life too seriously. But you know that when you produce that film and when it goes into theaters, people will identify.
Yeah.
You know, and you can't just sit there and be like, this is art, and I'm just going to focus and blah blah blah.
Oh, that sounds awful.
It does. It is.
I totally understand why Steven Spielberg makes so many crap films that are just look like fun. Because if he made Schindler's List every time, he'd kill himself. Like, is there a movie that you've ever seen more in your life and been like, no one laughed while making this? Like, oh my God! That being on that set, like, that's fantastic film as art and it has a really good point. But there's no moment where you're like, you're thinking someone is speaking about the Holocaust and then cracks up. Because, one, you couldn't do it. For just the sheer human reason, you couldn't do it. And then the secondary reason is, this is a project that your director, who is Jewish, really cares a lot. That's a lot of pressure. That can't be there's no way to have fun on that set.
Like, leave your sense of humor at home. Like, I know.
That would kill me. Like, I'm never going to make that. I'm never going to make that kind of film because, well, one, I'm skinny and I'm white and I come from a Catholic family. We haven't dealt with shit except for, like, you know, my family, you know, my people came to this country because we couldn't grow potatoes. So, like, I'll never have that. So I love films that are fun and can still mean something.
Absolutely.
So I totally love your pick. You love Robert Rodriguez. Is Robert Rodriguez and Danny Trejo and the cast, like, do you love the first one?
I loved the first one. I mean, going back to, like, what you were saying about art, you know, I really do see Grindhouse films as an art form, you know, I mean, and they started off as just this just disgusting, filthy, pornographic films that filmmakers are just like, oh my god, we can do anything we want. Let's do it. Because I can't remember what year it was, but I think it was sometime in the 60s when the MPAA didn't have a lot of restrictions.
I think it was right at the tail end. No, it was right at the beginning of the 70s. You get that 70s independent movement, and the grindhouse films were like, oh, Easy Rider's art. Fuck, let's do this.
Right, pretty much. And you look at just even like the lower budget films, like
all of them were lower budget. Like most of the films, the top grossing movies in the 70s are all really low budget, independently made film. Like it was the first heyday of independent film until like the early 90s.
Right.
Where they're just fucking people are just pushing shit out because Easy Rider made a shit ton of money, and it was Easy Rider's fantastic film. Most of the films that came out of it are not, and we get the grindhouse era.
Right. And I even look at films. I'm a huge George Romero fan, and I look at films like Night of the Living Dead, and that was unbelievably low budget. And
yes, it's fantastic.
They were using zombies. They were using their audio people as zombies, and their audio people, the people who played Harry Cooper and his wife were the audio people, and they were the main character. Like, it was extremely low budget, and they released it in theaters. George Romero's like, I just wanted to make a fun movie, and lo and behold, like a few months later, people are screaming coming out of the theaters because they're so fucking scared. And these people, are just like, oh my god, this is the scariest movie ever. And George was just like, I just wanted to make a cool movie, and look what came out of that grindhouse era,
Yeah. Well, we all know where the term grindhouse comes from, right?
Yes.
For the listeners who don't know where the term grindhouse comes from, it literally came from little independent studios grinding out film after film after film after film, because market saturation was really key to the success of a company like these at the time, because they didn't spend a lot on their movies, but if they could have many sequentially in theaters, they were going to rake in money for the year and continue business and operation. I love that Quentin and them just gunned out movies to do the double feature, and then Robert Rodriguez is a very prolific director, actually, and he has his own television network now, so he's got his hands in just everything he can do production-wise. Mm-hmm. I really admire that. You love the first Machete, so you love the first Machete. We get to the story climax. We have the girl Machete going about his deal, and then we come to the second one. What went wrong? So,
what I felt like went wrong...
I will say this, the first scene in Machete with the cartel is just...
Yes.
So the cartel shows up with all these soldiers, and they just pop them off like it's nothing, right?
Right.
The other guys come in, and now the cartel can't shoot for shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they became stormtroopers in a minute.
It was... I just felt like the beginning, well, you look at the first Machete, and you see that there's this guy, who's clearly a badass already to begin with, and, if you do this for me, I'll give you a shitload of money. Well, he was double-crossed and left for dead, and it was just a great revenge story. I felt like it was very linear, and boom, 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 he's on a vicious rampage for revenge. He gets the girl, that, to me, that's like real grindhouse,
Yeah.
And then we go to Machete Kills. And I kind of feel like their cast, for example. Let's go ahead and start with the cast.
Okay.
I feel like they have some of the cast in that film. I felt like Robert Rodriguez just had in there just to have in there. For example, Lady Gaga and Sofia Vergara. I kind of feel like he was just like, oh, wouldn't that be great if we had Lady Gaga in here? Let's just cast her as some random... like the chameleon. What the fuck was that?
I don't like Lady Gaga as it is.
Oh, gotcha.
So, here's the thing. I already went in not wanting to see her at all.
Gotcha.
But it's like, the casting is weird. I love the idea of the chameleon keep twitching, because it's such the old cliche that they put on a mask and they instantly look like another person with facial features and everything. So it's a really great cliche from like old James Bond days.
Right.
That I was cool with. Lady Gaga as an actress, it was just like...
I mean, she wasn't in there for that long.
Thank God.
If she...
Well, then again, grindhouse film, you don't have to be that great of an actress.
That's true.
Sofia Vergara,
See, the thing with I absolutely love Sofia Vergara a lot.
She's got quite a great sense of humor about herself.
Yeah, she does.
And I think she's well played in a lot of the things she does.
Absolutely. She I love her because I think she's super hot, and
she is a very beautiful woman.
She's beautiful. I think she's a great talent. However, like, you look at the cast that's in there, and then you look at, like, there's really no linear plot. Like, you have Sofia Vergara, and she's, running this brothel with all these young girls, and there was, like, one part of the story where Machete has to find this girl in that brothel, and then all of a sudden the brothel's, like, out to get him. Like, oh, because he killed our girl, now, we're, like, really part of the story. It was just, like, such a small detail, like, you didn't have to have Sofia Vergara with double D boob guns, and all your brothel chicks just going, like, I just felt like that was a little too much, and I understand it's a grindhouse film, and you're supposed to add a whole bunch of random
crazy shit to it.
Like, I get that, but I kind of felt like Robert Rodriguez overdid it a little bit. Just a little.
Just a little bit?
Like, I think when we hit the chameleon part, I felt like, okay, there's no point to this. Like, what is the purpose of this? It's a cool concept.
Okay.
It's cool to have in the movie, and it's cool to have that type of person. You're right, who just, puts on a mask, they look like a regular person.
And I love all the cut scenes where they take off the mask and the disguise. All those were great. Those were great cuts, but yeah, I can totally see why the chameleon is not actually necessary to any of it.
Necessary. I mean, like I mentioned, Grindhouse is full of not necessary points, but on top of that, like, as the movie progressed, I just feel like things got more and more complicated. And usually with Grindhouse films, they don't get that complicated. They're more of like a linear plot, like, this is what happens. You look at movies like I Spit on Your Grave, and this girl just, she's an author, and she's just up in the woods, and all of a sudden she just gets gang raped. And she's out for bloody revenge,
Yeah.
It's linear, and that's what makes it gross and saucy and, like, all these fun things. But I kind of feel like Robert Rodriguez added a little too much in Machete Kills.
Lost a part of what it was for Machete.
Right.
To have him going crazy, working for the government, being in space.
Yeah, I mean the whole space thing, like, because there is apparently supposed to be a third installment now. So there's Machete Kills again in space.
Machete Kills again in space.
In space. I love that idea, and I think Robert Rodriguez should go through with it, absolutely, because that's awesome, because that's combining, like, the whole in space, like, the 50s creature features, and that combines it with Grindhouse, which, again, it's going to be a beautiful film.
Got me on 50s creature feature.
Right.
You put space and robots in it, I'm probably going to like it.
Yes, exactly, and I think he's got the right idea with that. I hope he doesn't make it as complicated,
So you just think he convoluted the plot lines by adding too many things that just, you can space them out. If he had spaced, like, we saw the thing for Chameleon, Lady Gaga in space thing. If we had just seen touches of that, and we knew that it was going to lead to the next one, because you see the preview for the third one at the beginning of the second one, which is kind of funny because it's kind of a Grindhouse thing where we already have this in production.
Right.
So if the spacing had been done out better, that character might actually mean something in the long run. But we've got nothing. Like, we just didn't feel like she was useful in the first one.
I feel like. I mean, for example, when, like, in the very beginning of the movie, when Machete and then Jessica Alba, they're out there, they're fighting, they're trying to stop this cartel, and then he's about to get hung, and then the president all of a sudden is just like, oh, I want to talk to him, like, and then they just go into this whole, like, it was just so sudden, and I don't know, like, for some reason, I just didn't feel like it was planned out right. I don't know why, it just didn't feel right to me. Like, I kind of feel like if he was already sent on a mission by the president with Jessica Alba, and then she dies, and then he goes back to the president, I felt like that would have worked a little better. But it was just so random. Like, all of a sudden, the president's like, hey, I want to talk to you. Do this for me.
The problem I had with that is, weren't he and Jessica Alba working as border control agents or something?
I thought so.
Because I think she says that right off the beginning, like, that they're border patrol, and all I could think is, this guy's going to hang him for murdering an agent that he was working with. Why doesn't Machete have any documentation on him? Like, shouldn't he have an ID? Right. Shouldn't he have a badge? And now, like, that feels like they threw him to an Arizona police officer who's just supposed to be a stereotypical white guy racist.
Pretty much.
And it's just like, this guy just wants to, hang a Mexican because he's a white guy and he's a police officer. And it's like, Robert Rodriguez, come on.
Like,
we're not all assholes.
Right? I don't know, like, I just feel like, instead of starting it off, just like, oh, we're here. I mean, like, I felt like they maybe should have started it, like, with the president already sent them. And then, oh, shit, that didn't work, and then the president's like, I have another proposition for you,
I'm kind of cool with the jumping in.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think the transition between, oh my god, this girl, the whole point, like, one of the major plot points in Machete is that girl. And
absolutely.
I'm cool with them jumping into that point, and then bang, she's dead, because that totally gives them a reason to want to find this guy in the fucking mask.
Right.
But then it's like, how do we get to we just jump to the president. Like, there isn't a way that we could have made it that he's looking for the guy in the mask that brings him to the fucking president.
Right. Well, and it's funny that you mentioned, like, oh, he's going to look, for the guy in the mask, and all that crap in the middle about Mendez, and then the president's like, oh, find Mendez, blah, 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 and then all of a sudden, Machete is in this healing pool with the guy in the mask. Like, what did Mendez have, like, it just, I felt like there was too much, like, with Voztech, and just, there was too much added to bring Machete to that point. I feel like if that was cleaned up a little bit, you could still have the art grindhouse feeling. You could still have a whole bunch of crazy shit in there, things blowing up, random sex scenes. Like, you could still have fun shit, but I mean,
it got too far away from Machete just being a revenge-seeking fucking asshole with a machete.
Because, I mean, to me, toward the middle when he was with Mendez, and he had the thing attached to his heart, to me, the entire plot at that point just revolved around that. Just like, oh, make sure he doesn't die, not I'm still finding this guy in the mask. Like, it's just him. And then it kind of gears the audience.
And then everything's just a switch with the reveal, which doesn't feel impactful. Like, I always felt like, oh, and then blah, 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 and you're supposed to be like, oh, shit, of course! But it's like,
right.
Yeah, of course. And it's kind of defeating.
Oh, I forgot about that guy. Like, and there were a few times where I'm like, oh, I forgot about that guy. I feel like if the audience is doing that.
If you're forgetting about a guy in a lucha hood, in a bright red and blue, white lucha hood, we've probably gotten too far away from what the central point of the story was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Or at least what I thought it was supposed to be going into it from that first scene.
Yeah, it's just, I feel like you just veer away. Like, as certain things come up, you're like, oh, now his main goal is that. Oh, wait, I thought his main goal was that. No, it's this now. Like, it's just, it just goes back and forth. And I feel like, really, for any movie, not necessarily just like the Grindhouse type movie, but any movie, like, you're going to lose an audience really quickly. And you're going to have them leaving the theater going, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like Machete Kills, has a lot of good things to it, and the storyline, I mean, I get what he's trying to do with the storyline, and the production design was fantastic. The shots, Robert Rodriguez was also director of photography.
Yes.
So, like, he's just so great with the tight, shots, Grindhouse, all the, fast zooms, and all the blood, guts.
No one's going to argue that behind the camera he doesn't know what he's doing. But, I would agree that most of the problems in that is probably with the script. And then some of the parts with the editing.
Yeah,
so that's what we don't like about this.
Yeah, and I'm not even entirely sure if I'm gonna actually, like, go out and see Machete Kills again in space. I'm not entirely sure. Like, the thing is,
isn't that heartbreaking when you see something you're excited to, and then you know there's gonna be a sequel, and you don't want to? Like, like I said, we talked about Man of Steel, and I'm always excited for anything Superman. I'm not going to see Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice.
Oh.
And it's got Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman in it, but I could not care less about. Well, you've heard my discussion. I hate who they cast as Wonder Woman because she's a stick.
Who did they cast?
Gal Gadot from Fast and the Furious. That's everyone's like, whoa, she could be a really competent actress. Like look, it doesn't matter how believable she is at emoting. If I don't think she could knock Henry Cavill on his ass, she doesn't make a good Wonder Woman.
Right.
Like there is a level of typecasting that needs to happen for a superhero.
Right.
So oh god, so we've talked about what you liked, what got you excited about Machete Kills. We've talked about the egregious errors you feel in storyline and casting.
Yes.
Wait 1 second. Who would you have cast in those roles? If those roles still had happened, who would you have cast in those roles? And is there any other casting problems you have an issue with?
Like, not necessarily. I mean, like, who would I cast differently? Or, like...
Well, we can get all of that. But you know what? Screw it. Let's get right to the third part, because this is all going into the third part anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so... we know what you hated. We know what you liked. How would you, if you were going to take the script from scratch, you know you're making the Machete sequel.
Yes.
How do you build this film as a grindhouse film, still true to the original, still go crazy, but just not have that defeated feeling at the end of the day?
I would probably, well, I mean, we talked a lot about the script and how condensed, we don't need that much shit going on.
We gotta streamline this thing.
Right. I mean, but I look at, like, Mendez and Vaztec and everything, and I would just stick to that. Like, I would just stick to the man in the mask. You know, I wouldn't involve, like, that Mendez dude at all, like, part of the cartel. I wouldn't do that at all, you know. I would do something along the lines of, like, oh, like, Mexico has a hidden missile? Holy crap, you know, and then at the beginning you see Machete, you know, see that hooded mask guy kills Jessica Alba, and he's like, whoa, what the fuck? So it's like, he's after him, like, for Jessica Alba's death, and he's after him because he knows something's up, you know, because he... you know, maybe he, like, saw a glimpse of the missile, or he saw, like, a GPS tracker of where it is in the Mexican desert. Like, who knows, you know, but I would do something where, like, he finds a glimpse of it, and he's trying to find this hooded mask guy, and he's just, you know, slicing through all these guys to get to him, you know, and instead of putting Mendez in there for, you know, saying, like, you know, oh, well, you know, I'm gonna pull this pin. Guess what? You have 24 hours, you know, before the world blows up. I mean, cut out that bullshit. Just, I gotta find this missile. Another thing, towards the end of the movie, Michelle Rodriguez.
Yes.
The girl with the eye patch.
Oh, I know who Michelle Rodriguez is.
I love Michelle Rodriguez. You know, she has, like, her own, you know, agency now, you know, and she's like, oh yeah, we're a whole team. Like, Robert Rodriguez, why didn't you just use that? You know?
I would have had, like, okay, so I'm gonna, like, tell my idea right now for this idea. I love how he's just going after the person with the mask. What if we introduce Michelle Rodriguez's organization much earlier, and what we do is, as Machete's investigating, trying to find the guy in the mask, he gets into a situation that just intertwines him with Michelle Rodriguez's investigation into the same thing.
Right.
Only she's looking for the bomb in the organization, and he's just looking for the man in the mask. And they both realize that they're looking for the same people. Like, and then you got Michelle Rodriguez for more of the film, and I'll watch Michelle Rodriguez beat the crap out of anybody.
Hell yeah. I mean, that's actually that you just answered my question. You just finished my sentence. I was just saying, like, you know, what happened, Robert Rodriguez? Why didn't you just have her team at the beginning of the fucking movie? And they're like, Machete, you know, because they're all a team now. Because that's how it ended in the first one. They're all a team. You know, why would you not play on that? But no, Machete and the president's like, oh, I'm going to send you this girl who's undercover as Miss San Antonio, and she ends up being a culprit at the end. Big shocker there. Again, another just piece of poo in the story, like, not needed. Just, I feel like that they should have just taken that team and just used that to find the guy in the mask. And, you know, maybe throw in a little bit of Sofia Vergara. You know, maybe throw in a little bit of that ridiculousness. You know? I don't know how they would, but...
I don't know either. There's, you know what, there's plenty of ways to enter Sofia Vergara and even keep the, just to keep the fucking factor up of having the whorehouse, the brothel, is just have that be a place where the organization that's running through all this is laundering money through. There's plenty of ways to get it in, and then she even has a better integral part to be a villain in the story if she is if she's laundering money for this organization that's got a bomb.
Right, or she's with the man in the mask. Like, she's, like, perhaps, like, a business associate, if you will. You know, like, just an associate of that company, of Vostek. You know, what if she's, like, super undercover as, you know, a leader of a brothel? Like, I mean, that would have just been so cool to me. Like, I mean, I thought about it. I was like, man, I'm like, because that's so cool having a boob gun. And it's hardcore and so grindhouse, you know, but...
It is.
I mean, just, I'm avenging the death of one of my girls. Like, no. You know, like, give her a bigger purpose.
Yeah.
You know, I feel
like... Especially with an actress like that.
Yeah, you know, I feel like her purpose was just
not saying that avenging a girl's death is not a big enough purpose. That's obviously been big enough for Machete to kill a bunch of people.
Right.
So, but, no, like, give her some more meat to chew on in that.
Right. I mean... I don't know, like, I feel like that would have just made it more linear, you know. Have Michelle Rodriguez and Machete and their crew, you know, and they're trying to find out what's going on with this guy in the mask. Machete gets
leads to the brothel. Machete goes in, basically, undercover with the girls watching from, like, a van or something. Because they all know this is a place they launder money through and connections.
Right.
And then you can just get a shootout between Michelle Rodriguez's organization and just all sorts of just girls in burlesque clothing shooting guns.
Yes, I felt like that would have been enough Grindhouse. You know,
that would have been crazy Grindhouse.
Right.
Just girls dying left and right in just stripper outfits.
Machete maidens, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you're looking at these chicks, you know, and that, you know, that was part of a lot of Grindhouse movies. You had all these really sexy chicks kicking ass, you know.
I just want a girl with bladed high heels throwing kicks at Machete.
Yes.
And him just deflecting them with the knife.
Oh my God.
There's so many scenes you could just go that are just ridiculous that you can go nuts with.
Yeah, and I feel like you could just get get rid of a lot of fluff that originally was a Machete Kills. Like, just get rid of that. Michelle's organization, you know, avenge Jessica Alba, guy in the mask. Oh, look, Sofia Vergara, laundering money. Oh my God, like, and that's enough for the audience. A brothel
filled of prostitute assassins.
There you go.
Oh my God, that's even better, because if they just didn't like anyone, they just had prostitute assassins killing people.
Or if they were working for Vostek,
exactly.
You know, and there were people who might blow their cover for Vostek, just go and kill them. Like, it just, there's
prostitute
there's so many different ways that you could just make Sofia Vergara and that brothel cooler.
And mean so much more to the story.
Right.
Not actually what's going on. I love that.
Yeah, like, I feel like that would have just been way cooler. And again, getting rid of that fluff, you know, and having a straight, linear plotline.
Okay, so we have all this. What's the finish? I mean, we've got all this. The finish so relies on Vostek and the whole space thing.
Right.
And if we're still gonna let him, we still build to the third film. How do we get him to fucking space? How do we get him there? We have a very linear storyline.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we make Vostek the one behind the bomb, like, we take the cartels and all that, we make it about Vostek. Right? Like, we've planned right here. And you have all the girls as, like, the cover assassins. That's going to lead to this corporation that we're going to bust up. Is that how we get there? Mm-hmm. And do we still need a, hate speech monger as our villain?
Right. I feel like...
The fact that Robert Rodriguez cast Mel Gibson at that time was like, oh my God. One, Robert, you have balls. Right. Two, you do know this guy probably would just hate you, right?
Right? I mean, seriously, it's just... I feel like, okay, Machete gets to Vostek, you know, like, oh, you're the guy in the hooded mask, you know, big reveal, you know, and then, you know, of course the villain explains, you know, what's going on, you know, and then he tries, his bodyguards to try to kill him.
Exposition.
Pretty much, you know, and then, you know, suddenly maybe the prostitutes could come out somewhere, maybe they followed him, you know, maybe they, did something like that, and then Michelle's group would be with Machete at that point, you know, and they would try to, again,
and
it'd just be another, it would just be kind of like another fight scene, if you will. I mean, it wouldn't be entirely that, but perhaps, you know, maybe they found out that the leader of Vostek was leaving, like, right now, and instead of just, I remember him saying in Machete Kills, like, oh, you know, I'm gonna leave in, what was it, like, he was developing it, and he was gonna leave, like, soon.
To live on, in space and whatnot.
Yeah, but, I mean, like, he just leaves, like, right now. Like, I'm leaving right now, fuck y'all, you know.
Ready for my most grindhouse thing to put into this? So, brothel explodes, right? We think we're done with the girls. Machete goes in there, gets in there before Michelle Rodriguez's troops can, and they're all fighting the troops on the outside. When he gets in there, he gets captured by Sofia Vergara again, but it's not the same one. Ooh. We revealed that the reason she has boob guns is that there's like 50 Sofia Vergara just sex bots.
Oh, God.
That's how crazy we go. Now we just have robot Sofia Vergara's fighting all of Michelle Rodriguez's girls.
Oh,
boob
God.
Cannons everywhere. Because that would be Grindhouse is all hell.
It really would. That would actually...
and it would fit
awesome.
the whole tech thing, because they're
right.
this company that has robots and spaceships. And now you're like, oh, the money laundering site for this, for all the illegal activities and getting the bomb transported to us, has been robot prostitute Sofia Vergara.
It's just like, killing like two birds with one stone, really, if you think about it. It's like, I'm developing this army of robots, space robots. Oh, by the way, we'll just stick with this brothel for undercover. It's like, we can launder my money, so that would actually be really awesome. Like, if just combine that, and then maybe the guy who owns Vaztech could go into space. Maybe he already had a base at, like, the moon or something. Maybe he was developing this for a long time.
Yeah.
And that's how you lead into Machete Kills again in space.
Exactly. And
yes.
then you have a reason for the bomb. He's just going to level parts of Earth while he sits up on the moon watching.
There you go. And then somehow, Machete gets into the spaceship, and then he goes to the base. And then Michelle's...
Don't even do that. Well, okay, you finish your thought, and I'll say what I was going to say. Check it.
Well, Michelle and her group was like, oh, shit, we didn't make it on the spaceship, and then they just happened to find a way to get up there. Perhaps they find something at the brothel. Since they are robots, maybe they had, a secret ship somewhere, and then they could go up that. I mean, that would make sense without being what the fuck?
My idea. The Sofia Vergara robots, for the most part, lose and die, right? And for the first time in her life, I'm going to make Michelle Rodriguez damsel in distress a bit.
Oh, God.
Because she gets taken by the robots with, the last scene is him trying to save her from the robots, bad guy getting away, robots getting away, they all end up on the moon, and they've got the bomb. So they can drop it on Earth. Mm-hmm. For some reason, they have to have the bomb from the lunar base. Then the next movie is him actually getting to, the first instance of the movie is he's got to get to space.
Right. And
there's still roadblocks, and then we can launch him into space. So we have to end with Machete watching the rockets leave. Yes. Sea of destruction around him, knife in his hand, fucking rocket leaving from space.
I gotta find that rocket. And then maybe we could have, the president call. And just be like, I have another proposition for you, and then bam, Machete Kills in space again. I feel like that would actually end on a great note with the president calling and being like, we just found out.
Or that could just be the first time you hear from fucking Carlos Estevez, as he's billed this film. Him billed as his actual name just cracked me up to no end.
For sure.
Here's the sad thing about Charlie Sheen in that film. He is so much more convincing and honest and earnest in that bit there than he's ever in any of the stuff he's done since Spin City. He did that 2.5 Men show, and it's so fake and phony. And then this, it's oh, that's right. Not only are you a comedic actor, you can actually act. You come from a family of actors, and you know how to do this. And it was just God damn, Charlie, how far have you fallen?
Right? I don't know. I personally like Charlie Sheen as an actor. And I think, everyone's like, oh, he's so crazy, and he has done some pretty fucked up shit. But
a lot of the craziest people are amazing entertainers.
Absolutely, and I feel like
Johnny Carson was a piece of shit, but he was a fantastic talk show host.
Right? I just feel like the crazier the better. You look at all
for a lot of reasons, yeah.
Yeah, you look at a lot of actors, period. You look at Robin Williams.
A lot of entertainers.
Yeah.
You look at Michael Jackson.
There you go. Crazy as shit. Fantastic singer, fantastic dancer, performer.
There's a lot. Most of the people who want to be entertainers or get into that kind of field and want to be in front of the camera, including myself, have horrible developmental issues of someone just not being there.
Right. I fully agree. That's just.
Not everyone, but a lot of people.
Yeah, the crazier the better. The more issues, the better the actor you are.
I'm pretty sure Benicio del Toro is fucked up.
Oh,
but
yeah.
he's a fantastic person to watch.
Absolutely. Or you even look at like Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
You know, he's had like bad depression and
bad depression. He lived out of a vehicle with his family when he was a kid in Canada. Like he's been a poor kid and not had anything. So like
it's you come from
the well-adjusted people who make good on their life are people that are like, oh, he's just a really nice guy, but he's kind of like Bill Gates. Bill Gates looks like he's probably the nicest guy in the world, but it's just one of those things where it's like Bill Gates himself isn't entertaining. He's just a dude, but he's very well adjusted. He knew exactly what he was doing with his money. He's been very smart. He's just a fucking humanitarian.
Right.
But like, he's not the person you're gonna want to watch on stage.
Right.
You need someone fucked up to have that kind of chemistry in some way.
Well, I feel like that's the same way with just like directors. You know, I mean, you look at Quentin Tarantino and he's like just this lively, this full of energy guy, you know, and that's why he's a rock star director.
Yeah.
That's why he's rock star fucking status, because of the high energy and wanting to talk to people.
And crazy as shit, and loves to know how things work and loves to take things apart. Yeah, I totally get it. Like, you see, even interviews with Steven Spielberg. I'll listen to Steven Spielberg. Mm-hmm. I won't fucking listen to George Lucas. I love Star Wars. I don't want to fucking listen to George Lucas talk, ever.
Right.
I'll listen to Stan Lee.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't even love all the comics Stan Lee has made. Like, I don't give a shit about the Hulk until goddamn Mark Ruffalo played him. But I'll listen to Stan Lee talk any day of the week. Right. And I think that's it. Like, creative people are all fucked up. And this movie is fucked up.
Hell yeah.
But I think we definitely said a way that we would reimagine that.
Oh yeah, like just cut out the fluff. I mean, like, and it's good to have some fluff in some movies, and it's good to just have that random, like, what the fuck moment. But, I mean, if you're gonna do this on a sequel, I mean, if it was just, like, just one movie and it wasn't a sequel of anything, I probably wouldn't have been like, oh, well, you should have done this more linear, but this is a sequel.
Yeah, with a plan for another, with a third.
Right, it's branching off of an original one. Sequel, and then you're getting a new one. It's like, and you're gonna add that much fluff to a second movie.
Yeah, and it got way far away from what the first movie was. The first movie is a revenge pick. Right. And I think that's what got me about it, is like, this doesn't feel like a revenge pick. And that's what I came to see Machete do. I came to see Machete kill people for a cause that he, fucking mournfully regrets.
Right. It's just, that's how I would change it. More linear plot. Get rid of some of the fluff.
Honest to God, I have a hard time watching Machete Kills. Because it's hard. It's just, I don't know. It's not, there's not enough enjoyable to get through some of the stuff.
Right.
And the way we just went through it, I want to watch that film. That sounds fun. That sounds fun. Making it sounds fun to watch. Yeah. I love this. We totally got to the point of this podcast.
Yes.
So you nailed it out of the park, Alexandra.
Sweet.
So I'm going to tell you this. Do you have anything you'd want to plug? You've got a Twitter or Facebook, any of that stuff that you wouldn't mind seeing, like film production stuff that you want anyone to see?
Just like my own, like what I have.
Yeah.
I have Rascal Fiction Pictures, which is
Rascal Fiction Pictures.
Rascal Fiction.
I love that name.
Rascal Fiction Pictures. And it's just so skimpy right now. It's really not even a production.
You're barely 20?
I'm 20.
Yeah, you're 20.
20 years old.
So,
I do have a Facebook page. You can just type in Alexandra Arns, or you can even type in Rascal Fiction Pictures, and it'll come up. I have an email, rascalfictionpictures@yahoo.com.
Nice.
Give me a shout out if you want anything done in the Rockford area.
Cool.
If you just even want to make a short film and you don't know where to start, and you're like, man, like I have this great idea. I don't know how to write a script. I don't know who's in. Just let me know, and I'll help you, and we can figure something out.
She'll hook you up with a really nice, skinny white guy director. Hi. This has been so much fun.
It has been.
You should get a Twitter handle, because I would love to bomb you on that and attach you to this. Rascal Fiction Pictures. Google it. Shouldn't be hard. She does have the Facebook. She does have a website. I'm Thomas Sinclair. You can find me at the T Sinclair on Twitter, and the Thomas Sinclair on Facebook. There's a page for that, and wrestling and comedy and movie and whatever, and probably this podcast. This has been so much fun.
Yes, I enjoyed it highly.
This was great. This is exactly what I wanted of these. Thank you, Alexandra.
You're welcome.
Fantastic guest. Your choice of film went, how the fuck can we critique a film that's just made to be ridiculous? But we totally did, and It was fun. I actually want to see the film that we came up with.
That would be awesome.
It would be cool.
Maybe I'll just put together just a small script for it.
Just start editing. Just start cutting stuff out of their film and
right.
find other footage from it and make it work.
Just random stock footage.
Yeah. Random explosions.
Totally.
This was great.
Sure. Yeah, this has been a lot of fun.
I hope everyone listens to this and actually had fun listening to this.
Can I mention? I do have a Twitter. So
totally mention it.
It's at Alex Arns. So it's just.
How do you spell that? Cause
AlexHydeArns. So I'm at Alex Arns. You can find me on Twitter too. So. Facebook, Rascal Fiction Pictures. I don't have a Rascal Fiction Pictures for Twitter, so this is just my personal Twitter. My Twitter. My personal Twitter. So,
there's too many S's and T's.
I know.
Oh God. On that note, everyone have a great day. Go see a movie and
do something cool
and make something. Just do whatever you want.
Eat a corn dog. Those are good.
I do like corn dogs, and I don't even eat meat.
Hey, they have vegetarian.
I know, there's some good ones.
Well, that was episode 3 of I Want to Like This. Machete Kills with Alexandra Arns. In the description below, you'll more than likely find her Twitter handle and her site for her little production company where she makes nice, interesting, fun things. Loves horror movies, obviously. And you will also find more links to the Facebook page for I Want to Like This. And, well, if you would please just subscribe. Have a great day.